Cool. So I think it's still morning. Good morning, everyone. And I think special thanks to the UXSA team and to you guys for allowing me the opportunity to have a chat to you around how design ops enables designers to design tomorrow. So, what if I told you that your organization could save in the region of around 800 million Rand a year? I'm sure you guys would agree that that is a lot of dollars, and obviously depending on the size of the organization, right? But hold that thought. So I am Lizette Coetzee-Strydom, Liz, known to many, so as my previous speaker, namesake. I lead the design ops team at Absa Bank. But before we dive into the magic of what design ops is about, let me share a little bit around what has shaped my approach. So I grew up as a middle child. And if there is any middle children on the call, I'm sure you guys would agree that middle child syndrome is for real. Growing up, guys, I was the bridge between my bold older sister and the chaos of my younger sister. And I think that has taught me to mediate, to organize, and to create harmony. And those survival skills has actually become my superpower to remove friction and to create flow. And because I didn't have enough chaos as a child, I had to go and get a pit bull. So meet Titan. And this is my doggy. That's why I'm also a dog mom, like some of the previous speakers. So today I align teams and Titan, of course. I streamline processes and I enable systems that empower creativity. So in short, what I do is I try my very best to turn bottlenecks into breakthroughs and teams into champions. But I want us to start off with a question, and there's a question in the poll. So if you guys can just jump onto the poll. And the question is, what part of the human body holds everything together and keeps us from collapsing, but yet it's rarely seen or celebrated? And if you don't mind just checking for me on the poll, what are the answers coming through?
So people are, so far, majority of the votes are for spine, 83%. Cartilage, it's between spine and cartilage so far.
Okay, cool.
89% spine, 10% cartilage, yeah.
Cool. I think my previous slide might have given it away, my opening slide, but that's right, guys. So the spine, it gives the body structure, support, and flexibility. And I think one of the key things that's very important is protecting your spine, because the spinal cord is absolutely vital, and it is the main communication highway between your brain and the rest of your body. Now, just like the spine, design operations provides designers the support to navigate increasing complexity of design challenges. Now, yesterday and today, from the previous speakers, we heard a lot about AI and testing and legacy systems and stakeholder misalignment. And one of my favorites was sometimes going back to basics and taking out the pen and paper. So let's explore how this backbone, the spine, in terms of design operations, actually show up in practice to support designers through all of your challenges. And I think to demonstrate that, I want us to have a look at the evolution of design over the last couple of years. And you'll see that it's clear that complexity has actually accelerated. And I think I'm talking to the converted here because you guys are all aware of what's happening in the industry. But starting off in 2010, we saw the shift of mobile-first design, which obviously fundamentally changed how we approach layout and user experience. Then in 2013, the explosion of all the digital tools happened, from Sketch to Figma, Adobe, and it gave designers power, but also introduced tool fatigue and fragmentation. And then in 2016, responsive design became the norm, requiring us to think across devices and screen sizes with precision. Then came good old 2019, and with it, the global shift to remote work. Collaboration moved from sticky notes on a wall in a room, and it became digital. And tool overload became a real challenge. Now, fast forward to 2022, and the demand for inclusive and sustainable design pushed us to think beyond aesthetics to ethics, accessibility, and long-term impact. And where are we now? In 2025, we're entering this era of AI that we heard about yesterday and this morning already. AI-driven design, where the expectation is not just personalization, but hyper-personalized experiences, tailored, predictive, and deeply contextual. Each of these milestones obviously adding layers of complexities in the design process. But here's the real problem. The problem is that you as designers are expected to be unicorns. You are expected to be strategists, technologists, collaborators, ethicists, all while we are still wanting you to be creative. Now let's pause for a moment and talk about what complexity really feels like for you as the designer on the ground. It's tasks and deadlines and the weight of navigating a maze of operational hurdles while still trying to be creative. So every day you're expected to deliver brilliance while juggling business pressure to launch fast, even if it means launching substandard solutions. This creates tension, obviously, between quality and speed, and often leaves you as the designer feeling unheard and undervalued. Then there is also tool fatigue that we touch on. So you're constantly switching between platforms and interfaces and adapting to update to the most recent, and which drains basically mental energy and slow down flow. Then there is burnout. We hear about burnout all the time. So burnout from the work itself, from the layers of admin, endless meetings, trying to get sign off on designs and processes, and the frustration of machine problems and software glitches. And then let's not forget about the rework, guys. I think rework is a real problem in your environment. And I feel like it's the silent killer of morale. When feedback loops are broken or requirements shift midstream, designers end up redoing work that could have been done with better alignment from the word go. So it's a minefield of operational and emotional challenges that can drain your energy and stifle your craft. And this is exactly where design operations steps in to help you navigate this minefield so that you can focus on your craft. But what is design operations? So I've broken it down into 3 pillars to give you guys a very holistic overview of what design operations does. So design operations is responsible for collaboration. We manage the business side of things, so the legal, the risk, the compliance, the finance side, so the designers can focus on actual work designing. We synergize, so we connect people together, we facilitate knowledge sharing sessions, we align stakeholders, and then on the human part, we hire thoughtfully, we onboard with care, and we invest in growth because the people element is a big part of a successful design team. Then the second pillar is around productivity. So how do we enable designers to get work done? We remove friction and flow. And in saying that, it means that we define design standards and we equip teams with the correct tools to be able to deliver. We centralize systems and testing to reduce duplication and confusion. We prioritize, so we help teams understand capacity and backlog and allocation so that we know where the bottlenecks are that needs to be removed. And then the third pillar is around impact. So we make the value of design visible. So we enable measuring of what matters and show the business impact. We celebrate the wins and share the stories that build momentum. We authorize, meaning that we empower you as the designer through training, support, to be resilient and to be able to deliver. So design ops enables basically creativity. We amplify impact and we make space for the designers to excel in a world that demands more than ever from you. So the crux of the story is that design ops is the backbone of our design ecosystem at Absa Bank. And just like the spine, design ops provides structure, as we said before. So the spine gives stability, and so do we. through ensuring we have the right frameworks in place, the correct tools, the processes, the governance, and it all aligns to the fact that we enable the designers to then thrive. Imagine, as a designer, you needing to understand the governance in the procurement process that sits behind getting access to a Figma or Miro license, or for you to log an incident because you have an important industry talk and the security team has decided that it's risky to have URLs open and you need to jump hoops to get access and to get people on the call to try and remove the blockage. Where would you even start as a designer? So this is where DesignOps really comes in. So we help to reduce the cognitive load of a designer so that you are free to do what you do best. And then next, we support movement. As you guys will know, a healthy spine enables flexibility and motion. For us in DesignOps, that means creating spaces for creativity and collaboration. So we do that in Absa through our hackathons, our masterclasses, which some of you might have attended, our breakfast with TED sessions, to name a few. And it is in these spaces where creativity actually flows freely. Then as DesignOps, we also bring the heart. We spend so much time at work, guys, and I'm sure that there is nothing worse than feeling like you don't belong. We spend more than 8 hours sometimes at work, and you need to feel like you belong. So we nurture designers according to what they are, according to what you are, human, at least for now, I guess. We need to explore what AI brings in the next couple of months or years. So we create a sense of connectedness and belonging through awards, our graduate programs, our culture initiatives, and continuous training and upskilling, making the designers feel included and accepted. And speaking of connection, finally, we ensure every one of these individual parts are integrated into a single holistic system. So the spine links the whole body together, and DesignOps does the same. What we mobilize is a design community and not just individual workflows. So when we at Absa say that your story matters, it's because every part of this backbone in DesignOps exists to support our designers, the creators, and the innovators. But let's pause and ask the big question. That's all good and well, and you're telling us how it links and how you're the spine that keeps everything together, but what is the real value? Yes, guys, 94 years back. Calculated using the zero height formula around the value of design systems, investing in the design ops team, particularly the design system part, can give you this years back. What would this mean for you as a designer in terms of creativity, innovation, and customer impact? It's not just a dream, it's what is possible, and it can happen through design ops. And behind this staggering metric is much more. Let's talk about the impact. These numbers represent a massive shift in how we deliver design at scale. So at Absa Bank, we have built over 1,588 reusable components, 10 libraries, 3 of which was done in the latter part of this year, resulting in a design engine and not just a toolkit. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. Those components that we've built have been inserted into our designs across the bank over 2.4 million times year to date. Imagine the time save when you as a designer don't have to start from scratch every single time. In fact, if you calculate this using the zero height formula, it calculates to around 921,000 hours saved. It's almost a century. And it's not just time, it's value. We can go further. And if you then unpack this, these 921,000 hours, and calculate it based on actual rate per hour per designer, it takes us to 829 million Rand savings a year. So instead of having you spend time on repetitive tasks, rebuilding components, our designers can actually innovate, you can solve problems, and you can create experiences that matters for our customers. So let's talk about speed and efficiency. Speed and efficiency is powerful, and don't mind all the detail on the slide. I'll talk you guys through it very briefly. Speed and efficiency is powerful, but I think here's the truth. Numbers alone don't build culture, and speed alone doesn't really create belonging. Behind every metric, I feel that there's a person, and behind every process, there's actually a heartbeat. So while operational excellence drives scale, empathy is the thing that sustains it. This next part is about the human side of DesignOps, the part that turns systems into communities and workflows into opportunities. Let's start with the numbers. So under operational efficiency, my DesignOps team have handled over 140 invoices. We've resolved 119 incidents, 232 software requests, all while still maintaining 100% green risk KPIs. Then we're driving our graduate program, contributing 7 triple BEE skills points to the bank, creating opportunities for careers. So when DesignOps takes care of all of these operational details, you as the designers don't. Imagine you as a designer needing to understand the Cooper system or the SAP system in order to process an invoice because you want to go on training and you want to expand your knowledge. This is where DesignOps really steps in, and we take that forward so that you can focus on what you need to do. And that means less friction, more flow, freeing up time for you as a designer. Freeing up time for you as a designer to actually feel mentally enabled. So yes, efficiency matters, but empathy, that is what makes it sustainable. And then we've seen design operations obviously create scale and sustain it with empathy. But transformation is about doing things differently and changing the game. The next slide that we're looking at shows us how design ops drives strategic impact and elevates design in the industry. So let's break it down. So firstly, in the design operations space at Absa Bank, we've incorporated customer experience into the design space, meaning that every decision now starts with the customer in mind, not as an afterthought, but as the foundation of all we design for. Next, the strategic side. We're not just executing now anymore, we are influencing. Through book of work input and collaboration with business units, we're embedding design into strategy conversations, and this ensures that design is the driver of business outcomes, not just services. So when we talk about the stakeholder alignments and trying to sway stakeholders, this is where the tacky hits the ground. And then awards. These recognitions speaks volumes, from breaking barriers in CX to winning the Chat Wallet Award for Best Professional Commercial Project, Agile Leader of the Year at the IPMA South Africa Awards just a few weeks back, and being finalists at the Loeries. Our work is industry leading. Now let's talk about the impact, because strategy without results is just theory. Here's what DesignOps has actually enabled the Absa Bank design team to deliver this year. Savings Coach, one of our banking products, launched, and it brought in 109 million Rand worth of deposits. Travel Start integration led to a 330% increase in sales on our banking app through customers booking flights. Our Rewards Hub update led to a 30% increase in sales. Then we had hyper-personalization focus, which resulted in 41 campaigns in just 4 months via our Swerve platform. Time reduction in our ultimate banking journeys from 15 minutes to 4.19 minutes, great impact on customer experience. Then for funeral cover on our absa.co, our website, the changes that the team brought in this year led to a 37% increase in actual traffic. We had 80% reduction in processing time on our collections process and the highest ever digital voice of customer score at 92% this year. This is transformation in action, design shaping strategy, driving customer experience, and delivering measurable impact. But how do you actually build an effective design operations team? Now, there are many ways to build a team. And if you're in any leadership position, you will probably have certain tricks of the trade that you deal with. But when I started in design, when I joined the team, one of the approaches that really worked for me was the Lewin's change model approach. It consists of three phases: unfreeze, change, and refreeze. And when I joined the design team, I had to familiarize myself with the environment. And boy, oh boy, did I have a shocker when I realized that these guys with their casual shorts and tackies and jeans are not just responsible for building screens and making things beautiful or sexy. Then I had to assess the resources that was at my disposal and what else was required. I had to make some shifts. I had to develop some people, and I had to go outside and find additional skills for the gaps that was identified. Now, once I had that in place, I had to make provision for the proverbial red bus in order for us to have contingency, which was not there all along. And then finally, in the refreeze phase, I had to create an environment for the design operations team that was conducive of growth, that made them feel part of the broader design team. And this is still something that we drive at Absa Design Office today. Now, the Lewin's change model resulted in the design ops construct that we're following in Absa today. So we have an onboarding and support team that looks after elements like incidents and software access and ordering of your laptops or whatever hardware you have problems with. Then on the software and user testing side with the tools, I have a team that looks after the contractual side that makes sure that we get you back onto Figma if you kicked off or if you lose access, that look after our contractors when we onboard them, and after a whole lot of our governance forums. Then we have a research component that sits within DesignOps, where we look at user testing, the training component, the support, the insights, and the actual research that informs our design decisions. We also have a component that looks after pre-dev Scrum, making sure that we align and that we have our ducks in a row when it comes to designing in the pre-dev side. She works on ways of works, and she is the person that I chatted about in the earlier awards that won Agile Leader of the Year at the IPMA Awards a few weeks back. And then obviously, as I mentioned, we've got our customer experience team that sits within the design ops space that has really taken us forward in terms of knowing what the customer on the ground wants and being able to link the business area in terms of the complaints that we get from customers back to designs and our outcomes and how we actually serve our customer. And then the design and engineering standards team that is responsible for those amazing numbers that you've seen earlier, looking after libraries and components and giving guidance to external teams and our internal teams, and also responsible for doing some of our prototyping. If I must say so myself, probably the best design ops team ever. Now, I want to leave you guys with this, that design ops is not just a nice to have. It is the backbone that holds everything together. It transforms complexity into flow so that we can give you, the designers, freedom to design without friction. It gives you time back to innovate, to imagine, and to change the world. And most importantly, it brings the human heartbeat to scale, because speed without soul is just machinery. So design ops is what's going to help you, the designers, change the world and make it better for us all. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the time to be able to share with you.
Lizette, wow, what that was a great talk. Thank you. Um, can see a bit of feedback. Um, Caleb. I don't know if if Caleb is looking for brownie points here. He's like, we'd be so lost without you and the ops team, Liz. But yeah, that was absolutely awesome, and I obviously joke, Caleb. Um, so let me jump into the questions, and I will remind everyone to please add their questions for Liz. Um, so the first question is from the Shadow Walker, Danny Goosen. Um, if, and I call her that because she just pops up randomly. Um, the question is, if this doesn't encourage everyone to set up a design ops team within their space, I don't know what will. What advice do you have for smaller teams who don't have the manpower or budget to have a dedicated ops team? How can they still benefit from design ops? Wow, such a great question.
Cool. Thanks for the question. And I think that's why I said when we look at the number, it depends on the size and the scale, right? I think the key thing is obviously there are the administrative parts. And if your organization is not as big as Absa Bank, then obviously the administrative burden might not be as large on you as a smaller design team. But the key advice I would have is that you, in your smaller teams, really invest in your designers to start working on a solid design system, because in that it will help you guys save time and bring in the dollars, as we say. But there's also then the element where you need at least one person, so there needs to be that one person that will step into the shoes to deal with the administrative stuff, instead of every single person trying to figure out their way around software issues. Have that one individual that will then basically have to take on almost like an additional responsibility in terms of trying to sort out issues for the team. And if you divide and conquer, then that I think will help you guys to achieve.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question is from Maru. I'm curious about what design ops could look like in smaller teams that don't have a dedicated role for it. Is there a lean version of it?
So, Maru, I would like to explore lean version. When I came into the Absa Bank design team, it was sink or swim, and I had all these humans, 150 almost at that time, that I needed to work with. I think it would have been nice if I could like have baby steps. So I think the leaner version is almost like my answer to the previous question. Um, if there is potential and budgets to bring in at least one person that can run with the administrative things, I think that would be lean version number one. And then the design team to actually huddle together and to make sure that you guys invest in building that proper design system. So whether you give additional responsibilities to some of the designers to look after libraries, but you need to start building that core foundation. And it will be painful in the beginning because it's going to be extra hours and additional time for the designers to spend. But in the long run, it will literally benefit the team.
Thank you. And then we've got another question from Tessa van der Merwe. Thank you for this. It was very insightful. Could you touch on some of your strategies for fostering inclusion and cohesion in a design team that is comprised of a mix of consultants from different agencies as well as in-house designers?
Wow, I think that is what we live every day in apps. A great question. So I think one of the key things for us is that we don't differentiate. So when you come into the design ops team, from the time we onboard you, when you come into the design team, so from the time the design ops team starts with your onboarding, with your resource house as an example, if you're a contractor resource, you are already part of the bigger team. We bring you into all our sessions we have, into all our collaboration sessions. You become part of the team. If we have activities, you become part of the people that can participate in it. I think the only thing you can't participate in is bonuses at the end of the year. Um, But I think the fact that we don't distinguish between permanent resources in our space and contractor resources, as an example, makes the outsiders from a contract perspective feel part of the broader team. And it also builds that cohesion, because you don't want your permanent team sitting on the one side of the island and your contractor team sitting on the other side of the island. So what we do, some of those activities, through our FESI team as an example, we have breakfast with TED sessions as an example, and we bring in the contractors to share, and we bring in the permanent people to share, and we actually use the skills so that we can build on the bigger design team. But the crux is that you really have to make everybody feel part of the one body, the one team.
Thank you.
Hope that answers.
And then our last question from Halman. Is there a working relationship between DevOps and DesignOps?
Indeed. For the longest time, there was this breach between design and dev. And I think part of what my design standards team, at least in our banking app space, has really, really mastered is a very, very close relationship with our developers. I'm sure you guys as designers would agree that you always feel that you design and then it gets to dev and they go and build something else and it's totally distorted. So what we have done is really collaboration sessions with the dev teams. So I have catch-ups with the DevOps team, and then my standards team has got regular sessions and catch-ups with the devs where we actually sit and we work on we bring them into our sprints and we make them part of the broader team. So that actually helps us to really, really build that solid relationship and to breach that gap between dev and design.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I think I was wondering about that as well. Lizette, thank you so much for this insightful talk.